Hey, Steph, good morning. How are you? You good?
I'm good. I am good. Yeah, losing a player a day, which is impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel
just
all
what
right.
the doctor
I
ordered.
feel all right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll get into it, but it's the nature of where we're at. Is very It kind of comes off the end of the last season where like very disinterested, but interested is a
Mm,
weird feeling.
yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's like I'm keen. I'm more keen about the news than I am about actually the state of the club at the moment. That's kind of how
Yeah,
I feel. You know?
like we know it's a crap situation, and we know
Yeah.
it was going to get worse before it gets better. We spoke about that when after I think we spoke about it in the Tade video, but
Mm, mm,
when
yeah.
you're living through it, I just kind of like I just want to know what's going on. Like just
Basically,
not
yeah.
fuck the
Fly at
rumors,
the wall.
just rip the band-aid off. Let me know who's
Yeah.
staying, who's going. Which which we'll talk about today. But like, hope over the next week or two, I reckon that we're going to see some big departures.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
for those who are watching and for those who are listening, I'm wearing I think this is the 1920, right? The thin stripes. The reason why I point this out
Oh
is
yeah,
because this kit, I think, is emblematic of the start of the era that we had with Zlatan, Teo's first season. We then got Mike a couple of years later, etc. And
mm,
what we're basically discussing today is effectively the end of that cycle, because the question really is why now? Why rebuild now? Why sell these players now? Why they want out now? It's clear. It's so evident. We were umming and ahhing, right, about a few weeks ago what was actually going to happen. But there is clearly a reset of some sorts. So
hmm
with that in mind, Steph, that's kind of what we want to discuss and just
yeah.
say, where do we start from here with this exodus? Like what's going on? What's the logic?
I mean, it's just I mean, I'll start off by saying this is not what I wanted to see at all.
Mm,
I mean, there's the Reinders element, which is purely from a profit side. That's what they looked
yeah.
at. Player who's had his best season career to date,
We
and
bought him for a low fee, relatively,
yeah. So like profit margins, I understand the economic element of it. I
Mm,
don't agree from that's how you want to um, build a squad that's going to look to improve because he was our best player last season. Yeah, we gave him a highest rating, didn't we, when it came down to player ratings for the season too. I think it's disgusting if you feel like you want to sort of build a squad. Like Badair said in his video, it wasn't connected to Sempre Milan, but I watched it yesterday. The sell to buy would never get you anywhere. Completely
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Um, so give that a watch if you haven't already. I'm not going to plug another account's vids, but I actually thought it was a really good view.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's his last of a Milan vid.
The bloke's lost the plot.
Yeah, he's lost the will to live, bless him.
Yeah,
But no, I don't blame him either. But
yeah.
yeah, so that's the Reinders side of it. But Mike and Teo is really sad. It's really sad.
Mm,
You know, we both adore Teo. I know you love Teo a lot more. Um,
yeah,
Mike as well. He was the one that got me through the whole Donnarumma bit element. You know, I used to
yeah,
say to people, we've upgraded. You know, yeah,
yep.
we lost Donnarumma on a free, but we've got to keep it back who I
He
think's better.
just he just won the league. He just beat PSG with Lille. I mean, it was incredible business.
Yeah. And those two, it just feels like there's something more there. We're in a sense of what could have been done better
Yeah,
to handle this whole situation. And I think that's the overarching theme here, that whether there were promises made or
mm,
we also talk about their form since that, I guess that best ever season that they've had, those seasons they've had with us. And also kind of like there's a bit of it that I do understand that like they're asking for X amount of money, which when you're having shit seasons is a bit like, like should someone like Taylor be rewarded with 8 mil a year, what
mm,
it was like 9 mil a year when he's playing like trash and he can't
yeah,
fucking run back and mark anyone. But I think the starting point here has to be kind of like, how do we get to this point? But it sounds like we're at a point where it's like, shit will get off the can, and it looks like we're looking to shift both these players to get any money if possible.
yeah. I mean, on that, I don't think where my head's at is I don't think these are necessarily wrong decisions to kind of like nothing lasts forever. The cycle, we're
Yeah,
talking again to reference the kit, roughly 5 years, these players, not all of them, but most of them have been around for, especially
yeah,
Leão and Theo and Mike, like what, 3, 4. Um, I'm not against selling them. We were so angry that Hakan went for free, that Donnarumma went for free, Kessie went for free. All these really key players went for free. We got nothing. I'm not against the business. I actually think we'll go on to Mike in a bit. Actually, even the Mike deal at the price, I'm not actually that annoyed with, considering what we bought him for it and things like that. I'm annoyed at the timing. I don't really understand now. For me, we don't get it. There might be the economic reasons, like I think AJ, Ollie, and Maddie discussed it in the bonus pod about the financial years. This year we're actually quite good. Maybe that's why we're spending, because next year we're going to have to be really restrained. But hopefully the Champions League football will buffer that, because the balance sheet, you're always obviously a year behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's why maybe we're doing all the sales now to help us next year. I don't know, but why bring in a coach like Allegri who needs stars, established stars? Why sell them? To answer that, my head is that what you said, Steph, the players are checked out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bought into the project anymore through various reasons, as we found out about Mike with the Fellaini negotiation. He forgot, or he didn't care. It's clear, we know now for a fact, with how Tare has acted since he's come in, that the guys were clueless. We knew that, but now it's been confirmed. They're never going to come out and say it, but we've had it confirmed by what's happened as a result of all of that. So the question is it more on the fault of the players that they've let us down because they've kind of down tools to a degree, or is it more on the fault of the management who've let them down, or is it more realistically a combination of the both?
Yes, both. Yeah, got to be a bit of both. Yeah, I mean, you handle renewals the right way. This shouldn't get to a year out.
No,
the best clubs and the strongest projects, they make these decisions and they lock them in, even at probably maximum 2 years out from the end of their contract. Yeah. They go like, well, because that's where you got the bit where you can still get some value higher than look at these values we're seeing right now for Mike, like 15, 18 million euros. Theo, Atletico are trying to fucking swap us for a left back, or whatever his name is, the right back from Argentina, or they won't touch the 30 mil that we're hoping to get from Saudi. But like, these are players that we thought would be going, if they were going to be sold for somewhere, 50 million euros, if not above. Yeah. And we get nowhere near that. And it's a real shame, because if they were going to go, and not to say, like that money's always going to be the recovery element, but it does kind of put a bit of a bad taste on it when they do go for a lower than their market value because they're going a year out. It's kind of like, this kind of feels to me like no different than them going on a free, because if we get little to nothing for them.
I disagree with that, Steph, only because I think we like Mike, we're going to make money on. Mike, we bought him for what we're going to sell him for. Now that's not ideal, but that's 15 million in the pocket. He's worth more than that, I appreciate. And I think we're shit at selling players. Do not get it twisted. But it's still better than nothing. Like, it is, realistically.
It is for a club that knows how to spend it.
True.
This is where I was going to go with it. 15 mil for Mike, or whatever we get up to 30 mil for Theo. We will roll that dice, and I mean, we come back to it, but we spent 20 mil on Musa. Like, do I trust this management? Like, we're in rebuild mode. But then that's that management. This is Ilitare. So there's a different lens I think we need to give to it, and perhaps some patience and seeing what they bring out. We do like the names that we've been rumored to, which is probably worth a different video. Modric, leadership there, even Granit Xhaka, two players who are,
and Svila for a goalkeeper as well. Good names. I agree.
If we're talking about a rebuild from incomings, I do have faith on the coach, and equally Ilitare there bringing that in. But it just really sucked, because I do feel like Allegri, if he had the choice, and this management who was there before Ilitare and Allegri handled these play situations better, we'd be walking into this season with Allegri, with Mike under 2 more years in a contract or something like that, and Theo with 2 or 3 more years under a contract, and perhaps a new motivation to play well for a coach that they probably highly respect. But we are where we are, sadly, where this situation hasn't been handled well. And back to your point, it is a combination of the two. It's a negligence of the right way to run a club from the management, and equally players' accountability as well, where, like, specifically Theo, who's I know he's gone through some stuff this season, but like,
it's sorry, not professional. It's shocking. 8 million. It's just not right.
It's shocking. Yeah. Where's the perspective to how you played on the pitch? And
yeah,
even his stats have been nowhere near what he usually puts up. But you could just see from the performances, the eye test doesn't lie. You know, he's a liability defensively. He's an like when you look at like what he is as a player, as a sportsman, like his build, his top speed that he can get, the left foot there is so clean on how he hits it, and the delivery and the service. He's got everything you would want to be a very strong left back, but he lets himself down with just it has to be like if he's willing to be up there, like work rate wise, and give for the team, and you'll see the best versions of Theo. And I remember the first 3 or 4 years, he'd be running back. You know, you're looking for someone to clear up defensive like issues and to track back a fast winger. Theo's your guy because you can catch him up with speed and just see it out. The amount of times we saw that, but then we didn't see that towards the last season and a half, probably last season more so. And that's probably why, like, you know, a player's only good as their last couple of games, or if not their last season. And Theo was not good. So I'm not so fussed on Theo going. Specifically, we can get that 30 mil from Saudi. Mike is a bit more. It's a damn shame, man. I'm not going to say that he didn't have shit games, but you know, given the captaincy at the end of the season, I've always loved this character.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, has been shit on a few, you know, near post goals and stuff like that, but he's also bailed us out with amazing saves. So, you know, if I look back at last season, he's probably my top like 7 players from last season. I think I gave him like a 7 or a 6.5 out of 10 for the season because I thought he was, you know, he stayed healthy, which is important. And it's a shame, but like, you know, again, it comes back down to income and who do we replace him with. But yeah. I mean, there's a bit to unpick with this, but is this the right time for a rebuild?
It's just for me, it's the Allegri point. Now, Allegri comes with certain assurances. That's why I think the types of players we're linked with are a little bit of a level above than if we had like a Fonseca or a Conceição, for example, which is good. But I do question. I'm like, and we'll touch on Leão, don't you worry. I mean, that's the big one later on.
We'll touch on it, but
yeah,
he ain't going, mate.
No, I agree. But surely Allegri's gone. Okay, there's a spine here. Theo, I agree with you. Theo, again, sad for me because he has actually been my favorite player the last sort of 5 or 6 years. But he probably looked at Mike and Leão at the bare minimum and was like, got a brilliant goalkeeper, top 5, definitely, arguably top 3 in the world. And you've got Leão, who I still think is one of the best wingers in world football. And now he's like, okay, that's not happening. And because we're trying to maximize, you know, the money we're trying to get back for these players on the fact that, again, they've been poorly managed from a renewal perspective. But I just scratch my head because I think, why appoint someone like Allegri? We're going to be getting maybe some Juve rejects, quote unquote. Some of them I quite like. Even Vlahovic, I think could be quite good potentially if he ends up, for example. But I'm just scratching my head because he's not also a coach that's going to play Camarda. He's not a coach that's going to play Liberali. I really don't get it personally. Why now? The question is, would you rather, Steph, that they stay and let's say they're motivated because they want to get a really good contract next year on a free, and we win the Scudetto because, you know, Theo and Mike are 2 of the best players in their position, arguably, especially on their day at least. They have a complete 360, more on Theo than Mike, but we lose them on a free? Or would you rather what we're doing now, which is trying to get, let's say, combined 40, 50 million at best for the 2, and then reinvest that money elsewhere? Like, we can't have it both ways, unfortunately, because the situation we've managed so fucking poorly. So what would you rather, really? Like, that's how I see it in my head. What would you prefer? They're the only 2 options as well. Let's be realistic. They are the only 2 options.
Yeah. I mean, the question is who comes in. If you're telling me that, like, I don't know, like you get a keeper like, what's his name, Sevilla from
so
Roma.
Sevilla and Cambiasso, let's say they're the 2 best options to replace them.
Well, yeah, Cambiasso, you're gonna get Cambiasso, man. I just think it's happening, but like, I don't know, let's say like Sevilla and Destiny Udoji or I mean, and which we probably could with that money. Like, I think Sevilla, we can come in with the Salamakers element and throw that and maybe meet them somewhere at like 10 mil or something like that, or 10 or 15 mil plus Salamakers. And Udoji, whatever his name is, probably like, I don't know, there's like 30 mil there. I'm not too sure how much Tottenham would sell him for, but you know, we could probably, so basically you're like, what you're getting for Theo and Mike, you're putting on that the immediate replacements there. We're certainly not going to get, if anything, less than that. those replacements, it's particularly with the caliber of players that we should be looking to bring in. I don't. It's different. I think with the Kessie, the Gijo, with Hakan, we were on an upwards trajectory as a club. We were moving forward, and I don't think we were either in a financial position, nor also equally from like a stability position to pivot away from them. And I think we had a lot of hope and belief that they would renew or if not, kind of like give us their all, because it was like, okay, if they help us get to the Champions League, then at least if they do go on a free, we can then reinvest that money we'll get from the Champions League back into the squad. Now, I know stability-wise has been awful this season, but we've had a couple of years back-to-back with the Champions League. We have added to the squad with quality. And also equally, those players, specifically Theo, isn't on an upwards trajectory. He's on a downwards trajectory. Do I have confidence that he will step up and give us a better season just because a new coach is coming in? No, I don't. And you roll that dice, he walks on the free when we could have got 30 mil. Now,
so you're happy with the sales, effectively?
I'm happy with Teos being sold.
Okay, yeah, but
Mike,
we're talking about both. We're talking about
Mike,
both.
though. Mike, I'm not. I think Mike, I just feel like his situation has been handled poorly from management solely. I think his motivation has always been there. And
I agree with that.
And I think with like a couple of months of, reinvigorating himself with the new coach, with new management, it takes a couple of conversations with Igitare. That renewal is done by like hopefully December, and then this is an off-topic conversation. I'm more willing to roll the dice with Mike, specifically if we're only going to get like 10 to 15, fucking 18 mil from Chelsea. You can more easily replace a goalkeeper in a modern day of football, but I just think it's kind of like, it's a damn shame. But it looks like he wanted out as well, so he's also not gotten the promises he's going to get. Yeah. He's also pushing for the move because he doesn't want to be around the situation.
It shows, doesn't it, how far the relationship between the locker room and the management had gotten, how soured it gone. Because I think Allegri and Tare, probably had they come in earlier, had they come in last year, God knows what, right? Especially Tare rather than Allegri necessarily. But that bridge was that bridge between the club, the representatives of the club at the top, the Rats, the Jerrys, the Falanis, and Ibra to a degree, and the locker room was so vast that relationship's broken down so much that the players aren't even willing probably to go, yeah, I'll have a chat with them. They're just done. That's really damning when you think about it, because I think, again, Tare's come across very professional. He's done his things. He clearly knows his stuff. Everyone who we respect in the Milan sphere, the Capellos, the Sakis, all these people have all said that he's a legit guy, right? So that's fantastic. And I think they're right. I think he is. But the fact that he can't even sit down and have the opportunity to kind of win the players over shows how mentally spent they were. Especially, I'm talking mainly about Mike, really, with the Milan project. They're just done. They're done.
So, I don't blame him either. I don't blame him either, because it's like, it has been a humbling year for everyone involved. And the way we will cuss and we will go on about this management. Why would you want to kind of like, some players probably think this is ain't for me, this is too toxic, and it's the right time to go. Which is a shame for us, but as fans who have to see these beloved players kind of go through this and leave in an unideal way. It's a shame, but I think to the point, I think the damage is done. I think, and it seems as evident as possible, because they are pushing for the move more so than
exactly.
Reinders, I think there was a middle ground. I think
Reinders signed that renewal with City already on the radar.
Yeah. And equally so, World Cup year coming up next year, you want to do that playing for Milan outside of all European football? Like, nah. Yeah. And equally, that might be the motivation for Theo and Mike as well. Who knows? But it doesn't seem to be the case for Rafa. So,
which is a good segue.
Yeah, go on.
I know we're in agreement on this, but I think it was a week ago, maybe, or 4 or 5 days ago, that the rumors started with Rafa. I don't see it. I do not see Rafa leaving at all. And it will literally take close to the release clause for Milan to go, yeah, Rafa's not pushing to leave. I don't care what rumours you're hearing. He ain't pushing to leave. He has been treated, rightly so to a degree, as the guy in Milan. And he likes that. I think he likes that. And also, I think I made a point in the chat. You know how you hear people that scream about something, that write about things. Like, oh, I love Milan. I love this. I love that. I love whatever. Often it's the people that don't say that are actually the most loyal. Rafa's never had Milan on his Instagram. He doesn't really post about Milan a whole lot. But he is the biggest Milanista we have in the squad at the moment. That's a fact. I don't care what you say. I truly believe that. Truly, truly believe that. Could he go? Of course, in the sense that a Bayern could step up and go, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to give you 120 million, and then they'll give him a massive wage, and he'll probably could leave. I just don't see that happening. And Rafa's not pushing. He's just not pushing to leave. I just don't see it. That's my opinion on that. And I don't want him to leave. I really don't want him to leave. What do you think?
I don't think he's gonna. I mean, we'd be idiots to. I'm not saying no one's irreplaceable. Yeah, at this club,
he could leave. Don't see it though.
And his form was always, sometimes annoyed me. But we said this countless times. If Rafa's sold, we are going to absolutely regress as a club when it comes to us just scoring goals. Everything's gone for him the last 5 years, and I'm happier than this is why I don't mind seeing Theo going, because it's like you're replacing with maybe a hard-working left back who is a bit more defensively sound. That can allow Rafa just to do his job on that left wing side, and we can use him as the luxury player that he is. We surround him with hard-working midfielders who understand how to control games of football. That is less than, Rafa has to be this fucking, I don't know, Bukayo Saka left winger where he has to come back all the time and help us defend. I want to get the best out of Rafa because I think he's a stellar player, and you play him to his strengths. This team's chances can change dramatically. You don't just stumble upon players like Rafael Leão, and it goes back to the replacement side as well. I don't know how much Bayern are willing to come to the table for. I don't think they're going to come in nowhere near the release clause. That's why we shouldn't entertain it. I mean, and even if we did, and it was 130 mil, it's a lot of money, man. But I don't know, man. I don't know how we go back into the market with making the right signings to get us back on track. But I have more faith in Leão staying.
Me too.
And,
I doubt Pulisic's motivations more than Leão's. I think they're both going to stay, by the way. But I just don't see it. I'm not hearing. There's rumors, you've got Pletty saying about Bayern saying he wants to leave. It's bullshit. He's not making the right sounds that I've heard. Has he met with other agents? Yes, I'm sure. Has his father, who is his agent,
something on Instagram? Actually, didn't he say about put a sleeping emoji on on?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
the bloke Leão's a G. He's a top G.
What? And this is the difference between him and Theo. I think when Maldini left or got sacked, obviously, rightfully so, disgruntled from it as much as Milan fans were, and his form, I believe, is connected to Maldini.
Agreed.
He brought him in. He went to IB for the meeting, all this sort of stuff.
He loves Maldini.
Leão's form is dedicated to no one. Yeah. He's the same reason why it's quite hard to get him to work hard and stuff all the time. It's the same reason why he lives on an island. He's always going to be on his own when it comes to getting criticism and equally praise. I don't think he's connected to anyone. If Ibra was to go, then he'd be like, all right, fine, we crack on. I just think he's so chilled.
He is, yeah.
And another, going back to Bader's video, and he said this quite a lot. If he's got any sense of ambition, he'd leave the club, and probably rightfully so. You would go I'll be better off winning trophies at Bayern, but he just doesn't seem to be engineered that way. And whether you like that or not, as a fan, and you think he hasn't got the competitive edge,
it makes him who he is. That's how he plays football.
And that's why he plays football with a smile on his face. He gives you reminiscence of what Ronaldinho was like. And what could equally be our luxury of him not pushing a move out, because he's just I'm cool here, I'm chill here. I don't care if Mike goes, I don't care if Reinders goes, I don't care if Theo goes. I'll still be the creator of this team. That's
why I think he was also always put on a pedestal at Milan as well for a while, which has also enabled us to keep him, because I think he's always been the top guy since he signed that big contract at Milan.
Yeah.
And for him, like you just said, why? It's not like why would he leave? Like what Badea said, what you said about ambition, that's completely valid. But yeah, it's clear his personality is not like. It's not like he's just another guy at Milan.
Mhm.
He's the guy. He's
Mhm.
comfortable. He's on a big salary for Serie A anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like not that fussed. Which
He'd still be our guy as well. Like,
do you know what I mean? Of course he
I
will.
feel
Of course
like,
he will.
and I'm actually, there's a bit of me that's excited to see what he'd be like under Allegri, because I think
I think he'd be
Allegri would,
great under Allegri.
yeah, I think Allegri would just basically build a stable, hardworking side who gets the basics
facilitate
of
him.
football right, and just let him just do what he does as the outlet player. And I don't know if Allegri's ever had a player like that, probably since he last was managing.
Dybala, maybe Dybala, probably.
No, I
The
guess
last
yeah,
one.
maybe Dybala. Yeah, probably Dybala actually. Yeah, a good comparison. But I'd probably say like in a plethora that he had with Milan on his
Oh, with
first
Milan
tenure.
days, yeah.
Yeah, like 2010, 2011, and he had those players like Ibra, Pato, Robinho, Cassano, a little bit of Ronaldinho, but like he got that to work. So yeah, I'm confident he stays
Me too.
unless we push him out,
Yeah.
and which I don't think Ilitala is going to do. So it's like unless he pushes,
Unless it's a huge offer, like, and we're talking huge offer.
yeah. But I just don't see our buying go over 100 mil.
Me too. Me too.
Nor have any assets that will
We're
bridge the gap.
interested in.
You know, Kim, great player. Don't get me wrong, but
injury-prone defender for me.
Coman and who's the other ones we're linked to? Like
Nabry maybe, or Goretzka. I think Goretzka. No, he's past it. He's past it.
I think we're better off, man. If you look at like Goretzka, just give me Xhaka and Modric in midfield or something like that. Like, yeah, man.
I mean, if they want to give us Musiala, it's a different conversation, but it's not going to happen, is it?
Mikel Elise, yeah, can you imagine? Nah, it's I don't see it happening, but stranger things have happened. So I mean, that's what we'll
I'm interested to see what the guys listening are thinking. Everyone listening, because I'm like,
I think some people listening will want him to be sold. I think some people aren't happy with his progression. I think some people think this is he's not going to be put up more goals, and he's not reliable. You can't put your team around him.
He is actually quite reliable. I actually disagree with that. He's actually quite reliable.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion on this because he does divide opinions so much as he is as a player. My answer to this, and it's actually somewhere in between, but I think we are so reliant of everything going through Leão. We're going to have a massive fall from grace. I just don't think we're in that position to do that, specifically with no Europe this season and where we are. I think having that many overhauls is going to be like really bad, man. This ain't FIFA. This ain't FIFA where you can just get in. We've done this in the past. We've done this in 2017. Like you fucking rebuild the squad, get a new starting 11 in, and it goes to pot.
I've just thought of something really random, and this is completely just fabricated, like fan fiction in my head. But Bruno Fernandes made a comment about Leão and international duty. I think a week ago or something, maybe 2 weeks ago. I mean, no, I think it was a week ago. It was just when they just went back to camp. That was about a week ago, wasn't it? They did the Nations League. And he said, "Oh, yeah, Leao's a phenom and this, that, and the other." I have a feeling that they're probably quite close. What is Bruno doing right now? Bruno said no to Saudi. He's staying at United. No Europe. I wouldn't be surprised if Rafa's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're doing it. I'm quite happy at Milan.
Yeah,
I'm gonna chill." This is fan fiction. This is just me spouting bullshit.
Maybe.
Something worth thinking about because he's clearly in the Portuguese setup. It's not like he's trying to prove. It's not like a player who's trying to get in to the World Cup. He will be in the Portuguese.
Oh yeah, 100%. For sure. So yeah. And he'll be the guy at Milan, and he'll put up enough stats to get into that squad. That's not an issue with him. He doesn't have it all to prove. Where like someone who's finding their best seasons of form with like someone like Reinders, I guess, or equally players who are out of form and probably at risk of their positions, like Theo and Mike.
Yeah.
Especially Mike put how many goals you can see the other night? 5 against Spain. So
yeah, quite a lot.
So yeah, man, I just kind of feel like I'm in a position. I think to round this up, I feel like it is what it is right now. It's shit. It shouldn't have to been this way. It's horrible. Kind of like, would I prefer like players leaving on a free in their best run of form like we did see back in 2019, 2020, or would I rather see players right now who are out of form, leaving a year out, us getting a bit of cash value. I don't know, somewhere I'm somewhere in between it, man. But like it's a shame just to see Theo go, because like I've got a shirt with him on the back. I loved him, man.
Me too.
Put him up there, best left back in the world.
I'm not getting any more player, by the way. I ain't getting any more players.
No, you got to play on the back of my shirt in like 2-3 years now. But but like it's a shame because he's not that anymore. He's not in, for me, he's not even top 5. Like for me, he's not even top 10. Like he's just, and it comes down to motivation for him. And he might get that motivation if he goes back to Atletico or Saudi. Well, Saudi's different, but like if he goes back to Atletico, I can see it working out for him. But it ain't going to work out here anymore because he's tapped out. And Mike is also another one as well. I feel like, are we ever going to get it back to that best year they've ever got in the Scudetto season? No, I think his that was very connected to Dida for some reason. I've spoken about that before in the past, but and he had a really solid season last year. But it seems like the damage is done with the relationship with management there. So
I'm really excited. I'm more excited for Tari to forget his actual credentials in terms of like doing business. I want to see him repair that link. I want him to do that. I want him to just be an amazing man manager in terms of personality, chat with the players, because for me, it's just highlighted how stark the gap's been between the top guys and the locker room. It's just so vast.
Yeah.
That's where I want Tara. And I think he's doing a good job so far. So long may that continue.
That's the bit that's kind of like, I mean, as much as I'm accepting it, it's still shocking that like the management, like your Falanis and your Ibras and stuff, like they're the reason why it's got to this point. And it's 100%. And that for me is unforgivable. Regardless of their form or not. This could have been handled so much better, but it hasn't because of how shit they are as a quartet or a chick, fucking even Cardinale involved if you want to throw in that. Like, all hope has to go down to someone like Ilitare to
got a damn hard job, that man.
I feel. Because he's gonna have the same situation like next year with like Pulisic and maybe Leão. Like we need to recover it from not from the ground up, from the top down. Set that precedent of expectations and pride for the shirt. But the 4 of them weren't doing that clearly. But so
it's interesting. Like we said, interested to see what you guys think. Really, I think this is going to be. It was so funny, wasn't it? I think a couple of weeks ago I said, "Oh, what we're going to talk about this summer?" I was like,
"Don't worry,
we got a topic." It's actually nuts. I think, maybe we'll talk about some transfers coming in. See what another week of business finds us in. But always, I'm going to do the plugs. Watch the main pod, bonus pod. If you want to join the Substack, you can get involved in the Discord, which is popping off. At the moment, you can imagine, get your questions in, interact with us, whatever you want to do. There's lots out there. It's going to be a mad summer, isn't it? It's just going to be a mad summer. The Club World Cup, this whole, apparently the transfer window closes in 2 days for a week, and then it's open again, or like a week and a half.
That's a bit rogue.
What a summer window this is. It's nuts.
I think what's going to happen is, I think the Theo and the Mike deals are going to be wrapped up, and obviously Reinders as well.
Monday, Tuesday.
Wrapped up probably about midweek. We'll get Modric in, I reckon, and won't be surprised if another 1 or 2 more players come in as well.
Just want Musa gone. So
Operation Get Musa the fuck out.
Get Musa out, please. All right, Steph. Thank you as always, mate. And looking forward to chatting next week, guys. Thanks for listening. Any closing thoughts, mate?
Nah.
That's it.
Have a great week, everyone. But catch up next week, man.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for listening. Ciao, ciao.